and everything. They make the movies about Dahmer. They make the movies about these other killers, and they say, oh well, they were abused, and this one didn't have his father in his life, and this one didn't have dad, and his mother was on drugs, and then his siblings beat him up, and he was an orphan, or he was this, and they find some reason, some way to excuse what these things that they have done. Well, primarily when they're of European descent, but when it's us, you don't see that. You say, well, why they do it? Oh, because they're just in the hood, and that's just the way that they do things, and that's the way that those people are. When it's us, it's just the way that we are. But when it's them, there's always an underlying cause. So the romanticization is something that is pervasive in our society, and it just overlooks everything. So the fact that you were able to bring this out so boldly is profound in and of itself. So to the about for that, and allowing us to truly see and understand, and be able to finally focus and tune in what our attention should be, and not to look at all these people again, looking at the villain as a victim.
To so much, Elder, for that, and that's so true. Now, y'all, this is something that I had downloaded. I think maybe 3 years ago, and it's called Beheading. And is this a new phenomenon or revival of true Islam? And it's from the book. It's chapter 8 from the book Islam, Peace or Beast. And y'all, I have been trying to find this book for over a year. I only have chapter 8 in this. I think it's 9 pages. But y'all, I am telling you, I can see why after reading this chapter, why they removed it. And you're going to see why they removed it and why they don't want this kind of information out. It is the truth. And like I say, I believe they've taken the book and they completely disregarded. They got one book on what's that, eBay. And every time you go to try to get that book, it's always something stupid behind it. I tried to order the book, and I made the mistake of putting the book in my cart, and I was going to go back and buy it the next day, and they had taken it out of my cart and said that the book no longer existed. Now the book is back up there, but I don't want to fool with people like that, because people like that like to play games with folk. I want the book, but I've not been able to find the book at all. When I say at all, excuse me. We even contacted, Elder had contacted one of the brothers that work close with him, and we got no word back from him. So y'all, I'm telling you, evidently this book has been outlawed, or they have done completely away with it, or people are afraid to bring out the things in it. And so I want to read to you from chapter 8, Beheadings. Is this a new phenomenon or revival of true Islam? The culture of beheadings is not something the Islamists have invented in the 21st century, as most people like to believe. The general opinion is that this is something the fringe element in Islam would carry out due to incorrect extremist outlook. That is, they are nice people otherwise. Again, this is a far from the truth, as I will show later in this article. The problem is with the political correctness that is plaguing the West and stifling free speech to deal with the issues at hand. This is the second time I've heard this. The second time you've heard this tonight, right?
God.
So that lets you know that this is something that is not just being said by one person, but this is a trend.
God.
And this is what is happening. Okay. Excuse me. Unless we are honest, we cannot deal with the issue at all. We need to be sensitive and truthful about the issue we are facing. Our aim is not to isolate or separate Muslims into groups, but raise awareness of what is happening in our world and how best to deal with this. This is not to isolate those Muslims who want to take a peaceful approach. That is fine, but the action should be demonstrated beyond mere words. Staying quiet is not an option for peace. Actions are louder than words, yet we do not see any action from the peaceful Muslims yet. You don't see any yet, do you? No, you don't. We must ask, if Muslims are really peaceful, then how many Muslim protests have we seen condemning this behavior of beheadings? What is it? Oh. All right. How many Muslim protests have we seen condemning the violence plaguing many countries today? None. Are you hearing me? None. The answer lies in the deafening silence, oh, that's my tablet, of the Muslims. While the majority of Muslims remain silent, we can really hope to achieve any lasting peace. In other words, when you see the so-called peaceful Muslims, and they see the things that are happening, yet they don't intervene. They don't protest. They don't say this is, the wrong action. They don't say that what our people are doing is wrong. They don't get involved because you have to understand they're in agreement with it.
Exactly.
The answer lies in the deafening silence of the Muslims. Whilst the majority of Muslims remain silent, we can really hope to achieve any lasting peace. If we take a look around ourselves, we can honestly name one serious conflict where the Islamists are not involved. Okay. Are not involved? That's a question. What is it? Chechnya. Chechnya. Muslims active in that region of Russia. Philippines, Muslims active in fighting against the government. Iraq, Muslims active in beheading, bombing, and killing. Saudi Arabia, Muslims active in bombing and terrorist acts. Afghanistan, Muslims active in bitter conflict with the U.S. coalition forces. Pakistan, Muslims active in the borders of Pakistan fighting with the government troops. Didn't they say they fight against each other too?
Yeah.
Everywhere. Sudan, Muslims active against the Sudan Christians, forceful conversion and murder of innocent civilians, both Christians and non-Christians. Indonesia, Muslims insurgents forcing the Christians to convert or face death. Now, y'all, when you hear me say Christians, you got to understand they're talking about black folk. And I'm going to make it just as plain as I can. They're talking about Hebrews. Hebrews. That's who they're talking about. Algeria, Muslims insurgents fighting the government. Nigeria, Muslims fighting the Christians and destroying churches. Bosnia, Muslims fighting and killing the Serbian villagers and desecrating churches. Eritrea. Eritrea. What? Eritrea. Eritrea. Eritrea, Muslims waging war against the Ethiopian Christians. Lebanon, Muslims active against the Lebanese Christian massacres. India, Muslims insurgents fighting in Kashmir, breaking out into the streets of India. The jihad in China with the Uyghurs and the government. That's how you say it, Uyghurs and the government. In the Xinjiang province, and the murder of Huns, and the world remains silent. This list is endless, and we can see that everywhere you look, the Islamists are active. Do you still want to paint a picture of Islam being peaceful?
No.
Didn't think so. If you want to walk in the dark and bury your head in the sand and pretend it is not happening, that will still not make Islam peaceful. As a kid in Pakistan, I heard many Friday sermons on how they will one day vanquish the not Quakers, the infidels, the kafir, the kafir. And you know the kafir are who? Majority are us, the Hebrews, but anybody that's a non-Muslim, the thing about that is, when they're talking about us and when they're talking about non-Muslim. When they say non-Muslim, that's everybody. When you hear them say kafir, that's meaning they're talking about us. The purpose of this book is not to create Islamic phobia, but creating Islamic awareness so we all understand where we stand with this religion, which is intent on imposing its 7th century paradigm on the 21st century world. Now, you remember when this book was written? This book was written about maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And once again, it is very difficult to find it. But this is chapter 8. First of all, Islam as a religion is indeed stuck in the past. So to say it just does not move on. It is same old, same old. What does this mean? It wants to force people into the 7th century mindset, into the nomadic Arab life. This means you cannot reinterpret the Quran according to modern methods to suit your whims and desires. Another time, you cannot do what to the Quran? Reinterpret it or reform it. You cannot do that. And no matter how many times people try to say they are good Muslims, they are sweet Muslims, you cannot. If they are Muslims and they have read the Quran, they understand what their position is and they understand what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
All right. Now, all right. Modern day, no matter how peaceful a Muslim wants to become, he has to accept the Quran as a de facto standard. De facto. In his life. The teachings of the beheadings are taken out of the pages of the Quran that all Muslims hold dear to their lives. So this is taken out of where? The beheadings? The pages of the Quran. Also elaborated by the hadiths, sayings and deeds of Muhammad. The Quran cannot be interpreted without the hadiths, and you cannot separate one from the other. They are intertwined and used in all aspects of the Islamic jurisprudence. The hadiths are held to a very high regard by the dominant sects in Islam, that is, Sunni and Shiites. The hadiths are almost compared as divine as the Quran and must be adhered to in order to live out a life as a good Muslim. So Muhammad's words are just as important as that what is in the what?
Quran.
In the Quran, y'all. So like I said, you can't take this stuff you can't take it lightly. You have to really take it seriously.
Okay.
Anything the Muslims do must be seen through the Islamic lenses, which most people rarely do today. They incorrectly go on labeling this as extremist behavior or terrorist activity. Let me categorically state the record. This is not terrorist activity. Excuse me. And these Muslims are being labeled with a false label of terrorists and extremists when they all are trying to do is follow their religion to the letter. All they want to do is be a good what? Muslim. So they are not terrorists and they're not extreme. As many people incorrectly say, Wahhabism is a sect of Islam that has extremist views. Again, this is not true and completely a false view. Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab was from the 18th century, simply should be considered a Puritan for Islam who asked people to go back to the truth of Muhammad and his teachings in Islam. It is akin to the Reformation and Christianity to go back to the truth of the Bible. History concludes neither party did. If Christians follow Jesus the Messiah and believe correctly as the Bible states that he is a divine God who took the form of a man to die on the execution stake, raised after 3 days from the grave. The Bible also teaches that he is the only way to go to heaven. Would you then label them as extremists, intolerant, and fanatics? I know some do. Would you say that they have hijacked the Christian faith? Once again, I'm reading the article. I know some would consider this is an extremist view. Some would even go far as to say this is radical Christianity, when in effect, this is what, listen at this, Jesus of Nazareth taught that he is the only way to heaven, not radical or fanatical in any way. Now, once again, you got to understand, this is a Christian who has taken this chapter and they kind of put their little spin on it, especially when you hear them talk about Jesus, Yeshua. Those things, I read all of it, y'all, so that you can understand. Eat the meat, spit the bones out. Because we know it is not through Jesus Christ. We know that it's not. But that's the stand that many people have taken. Okay. Now, Yehukin in 14:6. John 14:6. Yehu said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Abba except through me. This is Yehush. And no one can come to the Abba except through him. Not only that, you got to understand, Yahuwah never asked us through Yehush to go and kill anybody. He never asked us to do that. Neither did he command or demand that we do that. Um, okay. Now, this, by the way, means to obey Torah through the Mashiach, who is the living Torah, and is not some secluded pathway as Yahshua always had him, but did not see him as the man Yahush until 2,000 years ago, when he died and rose again to victory to fulfill many prophecies. The same way the camp that cannot understand Islam, who also wants to label the Muslims, which carry out the teachings of the Quran and hadiths as extremists and terrorists per se. The bottom line is this: the people who holds the views of peaceful Islam have no idea of what Islam is or its teachings are, or what its teachings are. They have their own preconceived notion of what Islam should be or should not be, and they refuse to believe that Islam is not peaceful from its inception. The media machine, that is BBC, Channel 4, CNN, and others, also expose a view of Islam as peaceful, and even try and tell us that scholars agree that Islam does not preach violence. I would like to know who these scholars are, because they are never named, and why are these scholars not organizing mass protests against the extremist elements of Islam? Makes you ask a lot of questions, right? Well, you see a lot of these things. Once again, this is not fabricated, y'all. This is truth. It is truth, and it is something that we need to be exposed to so that we know what to deal with and how to handle it. It is nothing we ought to sleep on. It is something that we need to be serious about. And I know that many times, even though people say they are serious about it, they are not. Your actions denote that. The truth is that these are the views of those few who try to tone down Islam. But when you pick up the Quran, then their deception is clearly evident for selling do-it-yourself Islam to the West. If you want to see true Islam, then my advice is to go and live in an Islamic country. Better still, as a Christian, and then you will see how they treat you. Now, understand when he says Christian, y'all, he's talking about those Hebrews that are walking in Christianity. That's who he is talking to. When you look at movies like The Attack on Darfur, when you look at the documentary about them on the other side of the Sahara Desert, and you see how these people do, and how the only people you see over there are the people that look like us being treated wrong. You don't see no European people over there. You see us over there. Are y'all hearing me? All right. Now, in the Ibram worldview, Yahuwah is a person who wants to view a relationship, or have, a relationship with this creation. And he loves all mankind. I want to correct that. He loves his creation and he loves Yahshua. Does he hate what he created? I don't think so. But I will not go as far as to say that he loves everybody in the world. I will not say that, because he hated Esau. He said, Yaakov I love, but Esau I've hated. Are y'all hearing me? So it's important that we understand that. Now, Yahuwah, we are to ahab Yahuwah with all of our hearts, soul, and mind. We are to love our neighbor as ourselves. That is the treating them as we would like to be treated, and recognize that we are all created in the image of Yahuwah. When you talk about neighbor, he is not talking about your racist neighbor. He is not talking about the Ku Klux Klans living beside you. He is talking about your neighbor, the children of Yahshua. Because if you look in Wayikra, you see the setup on how we live. We lived in a closed community. So your neighbor was your kinfolk. Your neighbor was you. That's where, once again, when they come with this generalization and they come with this changing, and they want you to believe that, in Christianity, and this is the way they got many of us and still have us, that you're supposed to love everybody, but they can walk around the skinheads, the Aryan brothers, and all these other groups that can't stand Hebrews, hate you, and yet they go to church and be Christians. So you start thinking, so what are y'all following? And we got a whole different set of rules. We're supposed to love you as we love ourselves, but you could turn around and do this. Y'all, the stuff that you hear about, some of the things that these people do in communities, and go messing with people's property, messing up their stuff. And yet you tell me I'm supposed to love them. And then they want to talk about they love Jesus and that they're living for him and they going to heaven. And black folk, where we supposed to go? Hebrews, where you supposed to go? Like I say, y'all, that's something they created, and that's not in the writings. Now, in the Islamic world, we have two interesting concepts: that Allah, the Islamic deity, is the supreme being, and Muhammad is his last and final prophet and supreme authority on earth. Anything that Muhammad says goes, and you cannot question that authority. This is why when we read Islamic history, we see that no one ever questioned Muhammad's authority. And if anyone dared to challenge his authority, then they were swiftly dealt with permanently and ended up 6 foot down under. It's supposed to be 6 feet down under. 6 foot. Woo, 6 feet down under. All right. The jihad on infidels. It is a widely held belief that in Islam, it is incumbent on all Muslims to go for jihad for Allah and establish the caliph, that is the Islamic State. Jihad is the greatest thing a Muslim can do to outwardly convert others to Islam by preaching first, and then if they do not listen, then the Muslim to use all means possible, that is setting up mosques, madrasas, Islamic schools, and centers of worship. And lastly, force, that is convert or kill. Do you see that the Muslims in Europe are already actively setting up the mosque and Islam centers? Force will follow later given the right circumstances. Just take a look at Egypt, Indonesia, Lebanon, Nigeria, etc. Are we seeing an Islamic utopia in these countries?
Yes.
Not likely, not a utopia. You know what utopia is? No, not likely. They don't have a utopia. According to Ayman al-Qaslani, or Shaikh, what is that? Sharif. Ayman al-Mawad, Iman al-Tafazan, and Iman, right? Imam Jurjani, or I know it's not Jur because they don't use that. School of thought: the condition to fight the infidels is to give victory to Islam as an aim, and the intention must be to make Allah's Islamic God name the highest. The Muslim aim is to make Allah's faith the highest, and the struggle is real, and it begins with fighting, and the fighting has to be begun by Muslims as a precondition. After offering someone Islam, and their non-acceptance can start this off. So it ain't there is no peace with them. You are not going to win with them, no matter what. Now, let's look at the first case of how Muhammad dealt with people living in Saudi Arabia. Surah 47:4. Therefore, when you meet the unbelievers in fight, smite at their necks, that is, behead them. At length, when you have thoroughly subdued them, humiliated them, bind a bond firmly on them. Thereafter, in the time for, either generosity or ransom can be released of a sum of money until the war lays down its burdens. Thus are ye commanded. But if it had been Allah's will, he could certainly have exacted retribution from them himself. But he lets you fight in order to test you, some with others, but those who are slain in the way of Allah, he will never let their deeds be lost. The Quran is clear that this is to instill fear in the people's heart who are unbelievers, non-Muslim. Now, how is that peace? It's not. Surah chapter 8, verse 12 through 13. This is from the Quran. Remember thy Lord inspired the angels with the message, I am with you, give firmness to the believers, Muslims. I will instill terror into the hearts of the unbelievers, all non-Muslims. Smite ye above their necks, cut off their heads, and smite all their fingertips off them. You ever wonder why Muslims cut people's hands off? That's a command. This because they contended against Allah and his messenger Muhammad. If any contend against Allah and his messenger, Allah is strict in punishment. No mercy. No mercy. Again, mention is made here by the Quran that this is ordained by Allah himself to cut off people's hands or heads off and fingers. This is not allegory, but the real deal of Islam that most people are in denial of. These surahs are enforced today and have been abrogated. We are told by the ignorant masses not to judge Islam based on radical Muslims' actions. So then what are we to judge Islam on? Think about that. Are you hearing me? I know Holy Spirit. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to read this and then we're going to move forward. There is only one answer. Look at Muhammad and his actions. Who is the founder of Islam? Would you not judge truth by the actions of Yahush? Of course, this is the right thing to do since the followers might do things never advocated by the founder. That is, in this case, Muhammad. Did Yahush tell? Okay, that's doesn't. I'm not going to read that. That don't make sense. Did Muhammad tell his followers to behead people? Did he tell them to?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. And it still goes on. It ain't like then for just then, it's for now. Behead them. All right. Okay, let's see. My time. All right. Now, I'm going to leave that right there. But y'all, this is not just, you have to understand, these are not just isolated incidents. This is their lifestyle, and this is what they do because they live by the book. They breathe by the book, and they are not going to stop until they have what they believe have accomplished what they have set forth to do. And y'all, that's why it is important that you understand you cannot live peaceably with these people. I don't care if they're male. I don't care if they're female. You cannot. And the moment you start thinking you can is the moment that you're setting in denial. When a person has already made it, has established that that's who they are and what they're going to do, and that is their belief, then you have one or two things. Either you convert or you get out of it. Because it's not going to be one of those, well, I'll give you time. No, you have to understand. And if you ain't ready, and many of our people are not, but yet they still take that time, you got to understand, once again, many of our people were forced into doing this. I read to you out of the legacy of Arab Islam in Africa. You can't, y'all, this is not something fabricated. This is history. Right. And a lot of this that I will get a chance to read, who are willing, will show you, y'all, a lot of this that you're going to hear in this has been taken out of history because they don't want to give our people a chance to truly look at the truth versus what has been presented as truth. Right. How our people were beheaded and forced into this. Yeah, there's much more, but like I said, I'm going to stop there. And we're going to come back again, Yahuwah willing, and we're going to take up and we're going to read more, and we're going to continue to unmask the end time beast, so that we will have a understanding, and not just, I want to just say an understanding, but we have a clear understanding of what's going on and what is to take place. And this is why it is important that we as a people do not become blinded. Do not allow the media and those that have no understanding of the truth try to tell us these things when we already see in the writings and proof positive people that have done their research, and they are not just stuck in this continual cycle of trying to put a person or a people in a place that they don't belong. Y'all, I know, with this type of information, it steps on a lot of people's toes because people really believe, y'all, because Rome, the anti-Mashiach is going to come, or they call it the Antichrist, is going to come out of Rome, and there is nothing to substantiate that except for false doctrine that has been propagated and has been promoted for years and years and years. Rome does not have the authority, the power, or they are not even set geographically in the right place in order for the anti-Mashiach to come out of them. Are y'all following me? So it's important that we understand that, very important. So I pray that what has been delivered to you, that you will pray over it, continue to do your research. As I always say, do your research, but maintain the research that falls in line with what is being said. If you deviate from that, yes, you're going to get a whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of stuff. But if you stick with that and continue to follow it in the writings, you can't go wrong, because the Abba is not going to give us information and then turn around in midstream and change up his mind. That's not what he does. So it's important for us to understand that. So I pray once again, if you have any questions, any comments, please, you can leave them on the wall. If you want to direct message me, you could do that too, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible. Just let your questions be questions and not foolishness, because if it is, I'm not going to accept it. I'm going to delete it, and I'm not going to even consider it. Once again, I understand that this is a very challenging position for us as a people to accept, some of us, because we've been taught for so long that, once again, the anti-Mashiach, which people call, even walking in the truth, antichrist, is going to come out of Rome. Y'all, that is not true. That is not true. And evidence has pointed and proven to us that it is not true. Now, it is up to us to make that change. It is up to us to change our context so our conclusion will be better. Other thing, there's some other books that I want to that I'm going to get, and I'm going to bring them out, y'all. And this is going to show you, once again, don't ever underestimate the Islamic nation. Many times you hear comedians talk about they starving over there, they fighting tanks with rocks. Y'all, that's just the ones that want you to see that. But these people are very wealthy. They have doctors, lawyers, they have historians. Don't ever let the movies make you believe that this is what's there. Even the media, a lot, they put up there what they want you to see and what they want you to believe. But you better understand, these people are not stupid and they're not ignorant by far. And you have to understand, in their time of presenting themselves and coming forward, you better know, and you better be well versed and know what's going on, so you will know what to do and how to handle yourself. And that is the truth. Once again, I pray that what has been said has encouraged you, also challenged you, and provoked you to get in a position. And if your relationship with the Abba is not solid and strong, I encourage you to do so. Make it so. Every day we are striving to please him. Don't let anything distract you or put you in a position to where now you're challenged. You're questioning your relationship with him, because y'all, he's the only one going to be able to deliver us from the hands of these people. Come on. And so it is important that we make sure our relationship is healthy, and then make sure you surround yourself, once again, with people that are going to support you, people that are going to be here. It is important and it is necessary. And it is so.
And it is so.
I am Aliyah Yasharal, and I am the Mora of Messengers of Yahuwah's Hebraic Belief Kingdom. I am the Mora of Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom Hebraic Belief Congregation, located in South Carolina. I want you to remember, here at Messengers of Yahuwah's Kingdom Hebraic Belief Congregation, this is the place where the Torah does the body excellent. Until next time, remember, the push is on, the move is on, the fight is on. Work smarter, not harder. Also, you've been touched by Champion TV, a place where the champions reside. And it is so.
And it is so.
What's your name? The legacy of Arab Islamic in Africa. And World War III, Unmasking the End Time Beasts.